What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing two Steel-type Pokemon in the Retro Cup, a meta where Steel types are supposed to be banned, but it appears that Niantic forgot to ban one specific evolution line. Now shout out to Homesize Henry, as it was his video featuring Revavroom that made me realise that these Pokemon weren't actually banned, so of course I had to one-up it and bring my level 50 Varoom into the Retro Cup as well. Now despite being Steel types, these Pokemon actually aren't that good in this meta, and really struggle against most of the dragons, which is a bit awkward, but they do completely shut down both Superior and Jumpluff, which was very satisfying to see. Also, I do want to quickly mention that whilst I don't really believe that gatekeeping is a thing, like there's nobody out there playing specifically so that you don't hit the rank that you're hoping to reach, I do think it's quite harsh beating someone who's just shy of hitting Legend whilst using two Pokemon that shouldn't even be allowed in this cup. So what I was planning to do was backing out at the very end of the battle if I came up against any experts, but actually in the two battles I won against experts, one of them quit just before I was able to do so, so obviously I couldn't hand them the win. And then I'll be honest, at high elo it can take several minutes to find a game, so I actually just wasn't paying attention for the final battle of this video, and looking back I can now see that they were also experts, so apologies for that. Hopefully they did still hit Legend anyways. Also quickly, before we get into the question of the day, I want to say a massive thank you to Alan, Superbroker9759 and DC Cool 800 My Gamer for their huge donations in my two recent live streams. I really appreciate the support, and with that being said, let's get into the question of the day. What has been your overall opinion on the theme cups we've had this season? Have they been an improvement on previous seasons? Have you enjoyed them? Or have you thought actually that they've been a lot worse this season and a lot of the metas have just been completely unplayable? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so go into the first battle, leading Chestnut into Jumpluff. Obviously not a very good matchup for us. We do have two very strong answers to Jumpluff in the back. We're going to say swap into our Varoom. I say swap into Varoom not because it's particularly safe. It's actually very bad into pretty much any neutral matchup. It's really only those grass types that it can beat. But Revavroom is just an insane sweeper. With Acid Spray and Overheat, it's such a deadly combination. So at this point, I'm just going to let the Varoom go down there. They go for another Rage Fist. Unfortunately, they will make it to another Rage Fist, or potentially a close combat or an Ice Punch, which means Chestnut, despite being really awful up against the Jumpluff in the lead, I will shield anyways, and they do full send the close combat. We're now going to swap straight away into Revavroom, and we are core breaking this team right now, assuming the opponent is not running Future Sight, which is pretty unlikely for this meta, because both Moonblast and Grass Knot are double resisted by the Revavroom. We're now baiting with the Acid Spray. Acid Spray grabs the final shield. I'm able to make it to the Overheat, and of course, with the double debuff to their defense, Overheat gets the KO up against Cresselia. They're going to come in with the Jumpluff. I'm going to swap out there, clear the debuff to my attack, go straight for a Superpower, and Superpower is just going to guarantee that by the time I make it to an Overheat, that will definitely KO the Jumpluff. Now, the opponent goes to the Aerial Ace, probably should have tried to undercharge that a little bit, but either way, it's going to be game over. We now have the energy to full send another Overheat, and of course, super effective into the Jumpluff. Overheat will be getting the KO, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to opponent there. Into next battle, Chestnut into Oranguru. So obviously not great for us. I'm going to go for one Vine Whip, then swap out. The thing about Chestnut is that actually whilst we do take super effective damage from the confusions, we do at least resist the typical charge moves of the Oranguru, so it's not actually the worst thing ever. We're now going to go and full send the Gyrable. Gyrable is not a very good move, but it does grab a shield, and basically after this battle I realized there's no point full sending a Gyrable there, because Gyrable would not flip most matchups anyways, and at least if we go for an Acid Spray, even if they don't shield, we're going to debuff their defense by 2 stages. So here we come in with the Chestnut. Of course, we are taking super effective damage from those confusions, but like I said, the charge moves are resisted. We get the KO, and they've got a Jumpluff, and they've got Arctibax in the back, so things are looking pretty good for us. We still have 2 shields. I'm going to shield. Everything they can throw is going to be resisted, but honestly, these Dragon Breaths are already chunking. We're now going to go for the Acid Spray once again, and Acid Spray is going to drop their defense, which is very nice, and at this point, we can just commit to a full Poison Jab farm down. Although if the opponent goes for an Icy Wind here, which they do, it might be slightly tricky for us. So again, I'm just going to clear the debuff, swap into our Chestnut. I'm once again able to make it to the Superpower, and again, this should just guarantee that an Overheat from my Revavroom, whilst it is non-stab, should still be enough damage to get the KO. So the opponent goes for the Aerial Ace. We've got the Overheat already loaded. We're going to throw immediately as we come back in. Overheat gets the KO, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's top opponent there into next battle, Chestnut into a Shadow Abomasnow. So going to say swap into our room once again, and the opponent is going to swap into an Alolan Marowak. And honestly, this team is obviously triple weak to fire. I hadn't seen too many fires prior to doing these battles, so I thought, you know what, in the lead I was thinking like it's either going to be Chestnut or I might run like Shadow Gyarados, but I figured Dunsparce would be a lot more common than the fire type. So unfortunately we are very weak to fire. We do at least grab a shield there with the Acid Spray, which is nice, but unfortunately I'm still going to have to throw a charge move. We have zero fast move pressure up against the Alolan Marowak. They got a huge farm down. Now they can spam these Bone Clubs. They swap into a Shadow Muck. So we're going to swap out there. Of course, we were debuffed from that Shadow Bone in our defense. The opponent is going to go and full send the Dark Pulse, dealing big damage there. We are triple resisting the Poison Jab damage, which is quite nice, but it doesn't really matter too much. Overheat coming through, gets the one shot, but they can just come back in with the Marowak, and we will at least make it to an Acid Spray somehow. I need them to shield this, but the opponent, very rightly, no shields. It's going to be game over. I go for a Superpower here just to make it look like this battle was close, and Superpower does get the KO. We are at least down to the final Pokemon here, and we can force the final shield, but unfortunately the opponent can just commit to a full Fire Spin farm down, or playing it safe, just go straight for the charge move, and of course Shadow Bone gets the KO, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But in all honesty, that game was lost as soon as they came in with that Marowak. But GG's to that opponent there. Into next battle, we're going to see a Shadow Gyarados in the lead now. A little bit of an awkward matchup for us because we would resist the Dragon Breath damage on our two back Pokemon, but we also resist the typical charge moves on our Chestnut. So I wasn't sure if maybe I should swap out there. I'm now going to shield the Aquatail. Honestly, from that range, Aquatail probably would take us out. We now go for a Superpower. If we go for Frenzy Plant, it's going to be a CMP tie. And now they come in with another Dragon Breath user in the form of Shadow Dragonite. They're able to outpace me to the charge move. I'm just going to no-shield this, and the opponent actually goes for a Dragon Claw there, which is fine with me, as now I'm actually not going to go and full send the Gyro Ball. Instead, opting for the Acid Spray, and this will actually allow me to farm them down with my Revavroom and get a slight energy advantage, because at this point I'm thinking it's probably going to be triple Dragon Breath, so we go for the farm down there, and it is triple Dragon Breath as they come in with a Dragonair. So at this point, I'm just going to randomly swap out, and we're able to perfectly catch the charge move there. There was no like skill involved really, like I just swapped at a random moment in time. Luckily for me it works out perfectly. I guess I did farm up to back-to-back Acid Sprays, so maybe there was something in that, but either way we have seen the opponent swaps. They clear the debuff, but it doesn't matter as we've now got the energy for the Overheat, and this is going to be massive overkill, but Overheat gets the KO up against the Shadow Dragonair, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's top opponent there. Into next battle, we can see a Goodra in the lead, and once again another matchup where I should typically resist the charge move, so actually this time I am going to swap out. We are resisting the Dragon Breath damage here, but an Aquatail is going to do a lot of damage, and unfortunately it does put us into farm down range, and again probably should just go for the Acid Spray. Gyro Ball probably not going to do enough damage to get the KO there, but we grab a shield, so definitely should have just gone for the Acid Spray, but that's okay. We're going to come back in with a Chestnut. They could of course be running Draco Meteor or even potentially Sludge Wave, but I don't think that's going to be the case, so I'm going to no-shield this. A little bit risky, but it is just the Aquatail, so it doesn't do much damage, although we do throw straight away, and I didn't realize we'd lose CMP there, so definitely a mistake on my end. Should have overfarmed a little bit more than that. Good play by the opponent though, knowing that they'd win CMP. We're now going to come in with the Revavroom, and the opponent is going to once again be running Triple Dragon, but unfortunately into most dragons, like Overheat's still going to do a lot of damage up against a Kingdra where it's double resisted. There's just not a lot we can do here. All we can do really is hope that we don't get debuffed, but we do get debuffed by the Octazooka, which means we actually can't go for a full farm down. I have to throw an Acid Spray, throw it at the last possible second, hoping we do at least make it to another Acid Spray, which we do, but unfortunately the opponent can just correctly no-shield that. If we got the full farm down there, I would have just full sent an Overheat. Overheat probably would have put them into farm down range, and we'd have been fine, or they would have shielded it, and we can go for a Superpower, but because they got the debuff, unfortunately we do end up losing that game, but GG's to that opponent. Into the next battle, we're going to see a Dunsparce in the lead. They say swap into Cresselia, and we're going to come in with our Revavroom. Now again, they should just be throwing double resisted charge moves, but because Psycho Cuts are actually neutral damage here, they honestly chip a lot more than you'd think. So we're going to go for the Acid Spray. The opponent does correctly no-shield that first charge move. I don't think Overheat would quite take them out from that range anyway, so we kind of do have to bait there, or at least farm up a ton of energy. Now at this point, even though they are double debuffed, I am not certain Acid Spray will get the KO. So instead, we full send the Overheat, and the opponent does end up shielding. So at this point, I realized I'm still going to make it to an Acid Spray, so I should be able to either take them out here or grab the potential final shield. So we go for the Acid Spray, and the opponent double shields, which is fine with me. We're going to come back in with the Chestnut here, and the opponent comes in with Oranguru, so that's not that bad for me whatsoever. We can go straight for a Frenzy Plant, and again, I've already mentioned this, but we are, of course, taking super effective damage from the fast move, but the charge moves, they're just not going to hurt. So I'm going to no shield. Brutal Swing doesn't do much damage. We go for one Vine Whip. We throw the Superpower. Of course, Superpower gets the KO from this range. I'm now going to bank a Superpower, swap into my Varoom here, and I was thinking, can I actually make it to an Acid Spray if I shield? I'm not certain that I will. So actually, Drill Run fully takes us out there. Varoom, nothing but a third shield there, but we can now make it to back-to-back Superpowers. First one does big damage. Second one will be enough damage to get the KO up against the Dunsparce, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's top over there into next battle, Chestnut into a Meowstic. So this is actually a pretty good matchup for us because Meowstic should be on Sucker Punch. So the opponent's going to swap into a Primeape. I don't really have a good answer, so we're going to grab an early shield advantage, then swap into our Varoom, and once again, Varoom, not very good here. We're not going to be able to maintain alignment, but hopefully that's not going to matter too much. But I do kind of want to grab a shield here from the Primeape and grab the final shield, actually, so we're going to go and send an Acid Spray. Acid Spray is going to be no-shielded by the opponent, and they're still able to make it to another charge move, so unfortunately didn't grab the shield that I was wanting to get there, but we do at least put them into farm down range, which isn't the worst case scenario. We're going to come in with the Chestnut, get the Vine Whip farm down, and they've got a Annihilate in the back as well, so going to go straight for the Frenzy Plant, then I will swap into my Reverie. Honestly, I'm hoping that the opponent swaps into their Meowstic, and they do exactly that. Now, honestly, this is going to be tricky, but I'm going to go for an Acid Spray here. My win condition is if after landing the Acid Spray, we get the perfect farm down and come out with an Overheat loaded, and that looks like it's going to be quite likely here. Can we get the perfect farm down? Yes, we're able to do so. We come out with the Overheat loaded, we win CMP. Overheat actually doesn't quite get the KO there, but it doesn't matter as the opponent throws straight away. They should be in range where one Vine Whip will get the KO from our Chestnut, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's top over there into the next battle. You can see a Gligar in the lead. Now typically you'd swap out of this straight away, but I realize most Gligar are going to be on Fury Cutter in this meta to counter Oranguru, so we're actually going to stay in this. Of course, Fury Cutters are only neutral damage since we are a grass and a fighting type Pokemon. I'm now going to go for the Frenzy Plant. Frenzy Plant is going to be shielded, and we make it to a second Frenzy Plant, and looks like a CMP tie as well. So Frenzy Plant is going to land. It does big damage. Unfortunately, not quite enough damage here. And at this point, I kind of have to shield this just because it's an ABB style team, and I kind of need some coverage up against, say, if they've got another ground type in the back, but maybe that was a mistake there because they had a ground type in the lead. We're going to go for a Frenzy Plant. They actually no-shield that. We swap into Varoom once again, just completely sacrificing this thing. It is kind of useless. Unfortunately, like, what it's really good at is beating Fairy type Pokemon, which are banned in this meta, so yeah, whilst these Pokemon should be banned, they're not very good, and especially the Varoom, as it has an incredibly low stat product, but they come in with a Dugong, and yeah, this is not good for me, of course. Whilst they're not a ground type Pokemon, they do have access to Drill Run. I was hoping that maybe we could swap out in time to catch the charge move here, but unfortunately Switch Walk just barely not up in time. We do finally swap out. It looks like we caught the charge move, but very smart play from the opponent there, realizing that we were going to swap straight away. So actually, if I didn't swap there, maybe I could have had a chance, but unfortunately the opponent read me like a book. They go for the Drill Run this time around. Drill Run gets the KO, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But GG's top opponent there into next battle. We're going to see a Dragapult in the lead. Honestly, this is not a very good matchup for us, but I'm assuming since they're a Dragon type, they might let this go through, and they do. Now we're going to swap into our Varoom, and I can just shield this. I mean, if they go for Shadow Ball, then that's fine. If they go for Breaking Swipe, I should be able to get the Poison Jab farmed out anyways, and they do full send the Shadow Ball. So now we're going to go for an Acid Spray. Acid Spray grabs a shield from the Oranguru, which is huge for us. Honestly, I'm pretty certain that no one knows the moveset on this Varoom, because when have you ever seen a Varoom in the Go Battle League? So luckily for me, I did actually grab quite a lot of shields. Maybe some of them expecting that it would also run Overheat, which probably still wouldn't warrant a shield up against the Oranguru there, but either way, we're going to come in with the Chestnut, go straight for the Superpower. Superpower is going to be no-shielded by the opponent, and we're going to swap into our Reverie, and they've got Araquanid in the back, so we are double resisting the Bug Bites here, doing very minimal damage. The opponent's going to go straight for a Bubble Beam, which makes sense. Debuff our attack, but at this point I'm thinking, we're just going to full send the overheat here. We might as well. I don't expect them to shield, and they let it go through. It does huge damage. We can now outpace them to the acid spray as well, and at this point they kind of have to start shielding. They do shield that, and we're looking very good. At this point, I'm going to shield this just in case they're running water pulse as well. They go for bubble beam. We're now going to swap, clear the debuff, and we swap at the same time as the opponent. We come out with the superpower loaded to throw into the Arachnid. Superpower gets the KO, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's top opponent there, into next battle, Tropius in the lead. So obviously an awful matchup for us. Going to say swap into other room, and the opponent stays in for way too long before eventually swapping into Dunsparce. So I realise I really need to grab shields from the opponent. If I can flip switch advantage, that will be absolutely huge for me. But unfortunately the opponent does no shield the first charge move. I'm going to have to shield this because I will be able to make it to the Gyro Ball, and Gyro Ball might put them into farm down range after the debuff, so they end up shielding. At this point, that's probably the best we can get out of this matchup. So I'm just going to let the room go down. Drill Run, of course, takes us out. It's double super effective, but Chestnut completely walls the Dunsparce, and we have Acid Sprayed them, so I can go for a huge Vine Whip farm down here. They go for the Drill Run. We're going to go for that Vine Whip farm down, coming out with 100 energy. At this point, well, actually not quite 100 energy. We go for one Vine Whip. We're actually going to throw a Superpower into the Tropius here, just because I'm thinking if we can chip them enough, a few Poison Jabs from my room and my Rev room might put them into charge move farm down range for the Chestnut. But they're going to go for the Shadow Ball here. I'm thinking we've already baited with an Acid Spray. This time, I'm just going to full send the overheat. We need this to connect, and unfortunately, the opponent does correctly shield that up there. And that's looking like it's game over, unless I can swap out this matchup, but my switch clock just isn't quite up yet. If I was able to swap out there, could have sniped with a superpower and had that overheat banked for the Tropius, but unfortunately, even with a 50-second switch timer, it just wasn't quite up in time. The opponent can fire off the charge move here, and Rev of Room just too low. Even a resisted air slash gets the KO, and unfortunately, we do lose that game. But GG's top there, into next battle. You can see Altaria in the lead, not very good for us. We then say swap into our room, and we're met with Annihilate. So honestly, not a lot we can do here. They're going to go for the Rage Fist. We're going to go and full send the Gyro Ball here. Gyro Ball is going to get a shield again. Should have just gone for the Acid Spray. A lot of opponents not really sure about what to do up against Varoom, so they're just going to play it safe. Make sure they can guarantee alignment, because of course Chestnut up against Altaria is an awful matchup for us. But we're now going to come in with the Chestnut. I will have to go for a Frenzy Plant, even if I'd debuff them with the Acid Spray, because Superpower is going to be double resisted, so it doesn't really make that much of a difference there. But either way, we can come in, go for another Superpower, once again hoping to chip first. Then we come in with the Rev of Room. I'm going to have to no shield this, as it is just the Rage Fist, and then I'm going to go straight for the Overheat. I'm not going to be able to make it to 2 charge moves anyway, so might as well full send the Overheat, and the opponent does no shield. But they're going to come back in with the Altaria. I need to grab the shield here, but they're just not going to bother shielding. We've already shown Overheat. We go for the Acid Spray, and they do, of course, no shield. If we grab the shield there, I could make it to a Superpower, and with the double debuff to their defense, Superpower probably would get the KO from this range. But at this point, there's no point shielding there. They can actually just commit to a full Dragon Breath farm down, and unfortunately do lose that game. But GG's top opponent there, into the next battle, and we are now running Shadow Gyarados in the lead, just because I was struggling a bit up against certain Pokemon, so I figured, you know, not being triple weak to fire would be quite nice for us, and as well, being able to double resist Mud Slap and other ground type Pokemon, whereas Chestnut was just single resisting them, was quite nice. But either way, we're going to come in with the Varoom. Honestly, I should have thrown an Acid Spray here. I was thinking, well, we're not going to win CMP, so why bother? But actually, I think we do win CMP, because Hypno is, of course, a very bulky Pokemon. But either way, going to come back in with the Rev of Room, and we are going to shield this. I think I'm then going to swap back into my Gyarados, go for the Dragon Breath farm down here, get that Dragon Breath farm down, and the opponent's going to come in with a Serperior, so obviously not that great for the Gyarados, but it doesn't really matter because we got Rev of Room. We are going to resist or double resist anything they throw, but I do have to be a little bit careful just because, of course, they do have a Hypno in the back, and Confusions are neutral damage, so I'm actually going to shield this. I'm expecting the opponent to swap back into the Hypno, but they are in perfect Poison Jab farm down range. We come out with the Overheat loaded, and of course, Overheat up against Serperior will easily get the KO, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's top opponent there, into next battle, going to see a Gyarados into a Frostlass. So obviously a fairly neutral matchup for us. I'm going to try and catch the Avalanche onto my Varoom, but I'm not able to do so. And unfortunately, Yeah, this is not great for us, as they do bank at least a Shadow Ball on the Frost Slash. They go for a Brutal Swing here. We're going to go for the Acid Spray once again, hoping to grab a shield from the opponent, and Acid Spray once again does grab that shield. We're now going to go for another Acid Spray, probably not going to grab a shield this time around. Honestly, Vroom might be pretty useful if it had a... Excuse me there, if it had a slightly lower energy second charge move instead of Gyro Ball, which is pretty awful. But they're going to go and snipe with the Frost Slash there, grabbing a shield with the Avalanche. I can now go for one Dragon Breath, fire off the Aqua Tail. This won't quite get the KO, but it will put them into Dragon Breath farm down range, and then it just depends what they've got in the back. So we're going to wait and see what they come in with. The opponent comes back in with the Oranguru, so I stay in there, get off as much Dragon Breath damage as possible, but I'm still not able to snipe with the Poison Jab damage, so I let that go through. They're going to come in with a counter Medicham, so yeah, this fight is going to be game over. Even if I land an Overheat, this will not get the one shot. It actually grabs the shield anyways. If I went for an Acid Spray, this Aqua Tail, even double debuffed to their defense, wouldn't get the KO either, so I had no win condition, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But GG's to opponent there, and this is a matchup where obviously having Chestnut in the lead would be much better for us. And the opponent's going to throw their energy straight away, so not ideal for us. I was hoping to maybe catch after over-farming just slightly. Now, the opponent swaps into Oranguru. Honestly, I didn't even react in time, but we grab a shield anyways, as we did have the energy for a crunch. We're now going to swap, catch the charge move onto my Vroom. Once again, Vroom basically nothing but a third and fourth shield here, because it just can't do much. But we do end up winning CMP, which is very nice for us. Acid Spray is going to be no shielded, of course, but it forces them to throw their energy immediately, which is very nice. Brutal Swing will get the KO as well, which is good because they're actually not going to be able to get any extra energy. We come in with the Reverie, and the opponent swaps out into Jump Bluff, and that is huge for me. Dunsparce was going to be such a problematic Pokemon to deal with, but now we can go for an Acid Spray, commit to a full Poison Jab farm down, and come out with so much loaded energy. So Dunsparce actually isn't going to be that problematic for us in the end, as now of course we are going to resist everything they throw. They go for the Aerial Ace, we go for a full Poison Jab farm down. If they come back in with a Dunsparce, I'm just going to go straight for the Overheat here. There's no point baiting with an Acid Spray. Overheat coming through, gets the one shot up against the Dunsparce. They come back in with Oranguru. I'm going to stay in, fire off an Acid Spray. It doesn't matter if they shield this or not, because Acid Spray is going to debuff their defense. Now Gyarados can come in and go for a full Dragon Breath farm down, and of course we shield the Brutal Swing. One more Dragon Breath gets the KO, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's Hope, and they're into next battle, another Dunsparce in the lead. So once again, we are definitely missing our Chestnut, but this time, can we make a catch onto our Vroom? Yes, we're able to do so, and this should be a Rock Slide, unless they've made a 5-head play there and gone for a Drill Run, expecting a shield anyways and a potential catch. But now we can shield this, and the opponent does go for the Drill Run this time, of course, but then they come in to Annihilate. And honestly, I've really struggled up against fighting types. Of course, Steel types typically going to be very weak to fighting. Poison does at least make it neutral, but up against Annihilate, they're going to resist the poison damage anyway, so definitely not ideal for us. But we do have an Aqua Tail loaded on the Gyarados. I'm going to throw it immediately here, as the opponent does throw it on CMP. We grab this shield from the opponent. I can't really afford to shield this because they will be very close to a second Rage Fist, so we're now going to swap. The opponent swaps at the same time. They come in with the Dunsparce, and things are not looking good for us whatsoever. But I'm going to shield this up. The opponent goes for a Drill Run. If I go for an Acid Spray here, if they no shield this, I will at least be able to go for a full Poison Jab farm down, so maybe we've got a sliver of hope, but let's see what they've got in the back. And they're going to have another fighting type. The only win condition is going straight for the Overheat once again, so we're going to do exactly that, and the opponent does correctly shield it. We can swap, we can make a very unnecessary catch. It doesn't really matter. I think the opponent has farmed 2 back-to-back Rage Fists, so the first one just going to mean that this second one does even more damage here. It will definitely get the KO up against the Reverie, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But GG's Top and they're into next battle. We're going to see Arctibax in the lead. They're going to safe swap into Cresselia. So I'm going to pick an Aqua Tail here, then swap into my Reverie. And the reason for that is because I realized the Dragon Breath damage, we're going to do quite a lot here up against this Cresselia. We can now completely wall the energy. So they do have quite a significant energy advantage, but it doesn't really matter too much because now an Overheat should be enough damage by the time I throw it to get the KO up against the Cresselia. So we're going straight for the Overheat. The opponent is going to no shield. It does get the KO. They come back in with the Arctibax. I could go for an Acid Spray. We are double debuff, but I'm going to go for the Overheat once again anyways, and we actually end up grabbing a shield, so I guess Acid Spray would have been the better play there, but in hindsight, I didn't really expect them to shield a double debuff move. But either way, going to come back in with the Gyarados, going to shield this as they go for an Icy Wind, so at this point, Gonna have to go for a Crunch here. Crunch still won't get the KO, but it will put them into Dragon Breath farm down range, so the opponent swaps into their final Pokemon, which is Oranguru. Now at this point, I'm going to no shield. The opponent actually goes for a Trailblaze there, which is a big mistake. Now we can go straight for the Acid Spray. Acid Spray is going to grab the final shield from the opponent. We make it to another Acid Spray as well, which is huge for me because now they're going to be quad debuffed in their defense. We can come in with the Shadow Gyarados. At this point, I can commit to a full Dragon Breath farm down. This was an expert trainer, by the way, so I was actually about to leave this game here. I stopped attacking, but the opponent actually concedes the match before they're able to farm me down. And unfortunately for them, they quit, and I was going to give them a free win. But GG's to the opponent anyways. And that's just a heads up. If you are like very close to legend rank, don't quit out of the battle. Like, even if it looks like the game is lost, just keep on playing and someone might give you a free win. It's unlikely, and definitely don't expect people to give you free wins. But, you know, some people are quite nice, but they do actually just want to play out the full battle before they do concede the match. But anyways, into this battle, and unfortunately, we can't do much up against Diggersby whatsoever. We go for the Aquatel there. Maybe I should have at least thrown an Acid Spray with my Varoom, but I thought I might as well commit to the Gyro Ball because otherwise they can just continue to farm. But we're now going to come in with our Varoom. We have at least put this Diggersby into range where hopefully, if we can land the Acid Spray, maybe I can get a full Poison Jab farm down, but it's pretty unlikely. We go for the Acid Spray. They end up shielding it. Not really ideal for us. We are going to have to shield the Scorching Sands. Scorching Sands does not debuff my attack. And unfortunately, they do make it to another charge. I believe this is just going to be a Fire Punch, but Fire Punch still super effective damage. And they've got a Toxapex in the back, so it's going to be game over. There's not a lot we can do here. Of course, if I didn't take that Fire Punch damage, maybe could have gone for an Acid Spray, debuffed their defense there, and maybe could have dealt enough damage with my Gyarados, but pretty unlikely. They go for the Brine. Brine gets the KO, and unfortunately, we do lose that game. But GG's to opponent there into the final battle of this video, and spoiler alert, I did mention already that I won this battle, and I didn't realise they were an expert, so apologies to this trainer for just basically completely hard walling them throughout the entire battle. They're going to swap into a Vespiquen. We're going to go straight for the Gyro Ball. Gyro Ball isn't going to do that much damage, but it will grab a shield. So again, possibly should have just gone straight Acid Spray in this matchup. We're going to no shield once again, and again they go for Power Gem. Power Gem is single resisted, whilst X's are, it's going to be double resisted, so it does make sense. And again they go for another Power Gem. We are going to overfarm, and the opponent makes a brilliant catch there, but it doesn't really help them too much. I think they would have rather got the snipe with the Mud Slap damage there, because now we can just swap into our Gyarados. I can just safely no shield a Body Slam here. Body Slam not going to do much damage now that it is slightly nerfed, and now we can farm up to back-to-back Aquatels before firing off a charge move with Gyarados. Aquatel gets the KO there, and let's see what the opponent wants to do. They're going to come in with a Oranguru. We're going to go straight for the Crunch here. Crunch should be grabbing the final shield from the opponent, and it does exactly that. Now, unfortunately, not able to swap out there, so instead they farm me down. We can come in with our Revavroom, and at this point, I'm probably going to shield whatever they throw. They could go for a Trailblaze, which is maybe a little bit risky for us to shield the first one, but they do go for the Brutal Swing. I'm expecting the opponent to try and make a catch, but actually they get off the next charge move as soon as they can. They go for the Brutal Swing. Now they swap into Vespiquen. We're able to swap, get the Poison Jab farm down. We're close to a Gyro Ball, and we get to the Gyro Ball in time. And does this actually get the KO here? Gyro Ball does get the KO up against Oranguru, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And if you want to take your support even further, you can now become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has already become a channel member. Your support is greatly appreciated, and with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.